Hey everybody, welcome to Rockin' the Valley's Cyber Speakeasy, your source for music, conversation, and cocktails. My name is Mike. I am Not For Coltrane. I'm very happy that you are here with us, and I hope that you have something that is wonderful and delicious and refreshing here with you as you're joining us, because speaking of wonderful and delicious and refreshing, I'm very excited about the guests we have here with us this evening. We have Claudia and Liliana. If you two could unmute yourselves and welcome into the here we go.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing okay. A little frazzled as usual. I should mention that this part of my house is not well climate controlled. I like the how it sounds, the acoustics, but it is really uncomfortable. So I'm very glad I have something very cold here in my hands to sip on this evening. So how about let's go around and well, first up, I guess that our names are up there. You can see who's who. But so let's go around. Liliana, what do you have to drink?
I'm 17, so I have juice. It's mango.
Ooh.
It's very tasty. Mm-hmm.
Is it like fresh mango juice? Is there a story that goes with mango juice?
I just like mango, and I saw it, and I was like, great. And it's kind of like bubbly.
Nice.
I figured it good for the occasion.
Excellent. I think that is an excellent call. How about you, Claudia?
So I am kind of boring and just have water, but to make up for it, I have a really fun glass.
That's true. Well, I mean, and you're also mobile. Is it okay for us to talk about the story of why you need to be in your car at the moment?
So a long time ago, my roommates and I planned to go to Hershey Park. So my hair is a little
like in the before times, in the pre-COVID era.
Yes. And today is the only day that it could work for everybody. So I brought a glass from home. I brought my headphones and I have water, but I'm enjoying it. I'm here.
That is excellent. And what I have here is I also don't drink, and so it's a challenge for me to try to figure out what it is I'm going to have on camera every time I do one of these. And I actually was looking for recipes, and nothing really leapt out. So what this is so it's a raspberry hibiscus tea with a lot of sugar, as well as some fresh blackberries and fresh cherries, and also a little club soda for a little bit of a fizz to it. I have literally, this is going to be the first time that I try it, so we'll see how it is.
Oh boy.
Well, that's pretty good. That's
so
not
fancy.
bad. That's not bad. Yeah. Well, you know, the last time I was literally drinking out of a bottle of Hawaiian Punch. So, you know, it varies from time to time. But like, oh, okay, it's stuff we have in the fridge. We can make this work. Last time I tried to mix my own drink, I didn't put in nearly enough sugar when adding the club soda. So I had to think about, okay, what am I going to do this time? All right, so there we go. And I'm, like I say, I'm very, I even, to gild the lily a little bit more, I even put the glass in the freezer for a bit. You can't tell anymore that it was frosted, but, oh yeah, that's a keeper. I think I might go back to that.
It looks really good.
It's working out okay. So I am so excited that the two of you are here, because I think it literally has been more than a year, let alone COVID. You know, how long time actually seems to stretch out these days. But I think it was definitely more than 12 months that I first reached out to you two about, hey, can we get you on the show sometime and make it work? And you're finally here, and I'm very excited about that.
We're excited to thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So think so. For folks who might not be familiar with the two of you yet, why don't you each sort of initially, a little bit of your story, how you came to music, and yeah, just sort of individually, and then we'll talk about how the two of you got together. Who wants to go first? Claudia, you get top billing in the name. Why don't you go first?
Um, so Lily and I have a little bit of an interesting history because I am 21
Uh-huh.
and she's 17. So we have like quite a bit of a little gap there. We both went to the School of Rock in Easton. And so when she joined, she was already so good. She was what, like 12, Lily, I think, right?
Yeah, I think I just turned 12. Yeah.
I was actually like helping with the beginner program. And so she came in to like try it out and we were like, whoa. So she was only in that program for a very brief period of time. But the way School of Rock works is that like kids of all ages and levels are in shows together. So the first show, was it Queen, Lily?
Yeah, Queen.
So we were both put in the Queen show together, and that season and the one then after that. So a couple months later, we were in several shows together right in a row. And even though I'm older than her, it was kind of just like, obviously this girl is cool and she's really good. So why would I not want to hang out with her and jam out?
Absolutely. Very cool. And how about you,
Yeah.
Liliana?
Well, I started playing, I think I was like maybe 11 or 12. And then obviously we met at the School of Rock. And I think it was the second show that we did, which was Steely Dan. We ended up getting tickets to go together. And that's when we first became like really close friends. We saw them live. And it was amazing. And then we started playing some of their music together and we were like, hey, we should do this for people outside of School of Rock. So it was fun.
Well,
Yeah.
and the School of Rock connection is really cool too because the first Cyber Speakeasy show, the very first one, the guests were Sean Cav and Jason Hedrington and from Ruby Deer. I'm blanking on her name.
Jenny.
Yes, thank you, Jenny Founds. So there's a little bit of a connection there too, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So then I think another thing that's fascinating about the two of you as a duo. So let me go through this. You both sing. You both play acoustic guitar. You both play electric guitar. I believe you both play bass. Yes, you both play keyboards. So how do you figure out who does what when you're doing a show?
It's kind of just song by song. Like a lot of times we pick songs because we really want to play a specific part. I'll be like, oh, I heard this really cool solo in this song. Like we should totally do it. Or she's like, there's this really beautiful piano part. We should figure out an arrangement of this song.
Yeah.
So I think most of the time that's how we do it.
Yeah. And we're both like pretty particular and we like organizing. So we literally like hanging out together. We have a spreadsheet, even though there's just two of us. We have a spreadsheet of all the songs. And we not only write what each other do, but like whoever sings it, like mine are in blue and then hers are purple. So we'll like color code it. So that way when we're making a set list and we need to know like
there's some back and forth.
Exactly.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool. All right, well, let's give people a little bit of an idea of what your sound is. I'm gonna obviously the two of you are not in the same place at the moment because Claudia, you're over in the Hershey area, but the two of you were able to get together in the past couple of days to record a couple songs just for this, which is really wonderful of you. Thank you for that. I'm gonna put that up now so everybody can see. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll give you the choice. Which of the two songs would you like to go first?
Ooh, I think we should do Angelina first. That's one where we were both playing acoustic guitar.
All right. Good deal. Here we go.
Angelina.
That is really cool. That is really cool, and it's also such a really I'm glad you picked it because it's a really good showcase of what each of you bring and a lot of what you do.
Definitely.
So, and actually, yeah, tell us a little about how how your what I guess I'm guessing Claudia, are you the one who brought that song to the duo, or was that Liliana?
So it's interesting that you ask. So we actually don't have originals that we play out yet, because although we definitely, not saying that we never rehearse, we rehearse, I promise. But I live in Westchester, and Liliana lives in Easton. So preparing covers is easy to, like, I learn this part, you learn this part, we get together, play it a couple times, we're ready. But with originals, it's hard. So this song, we like to almost pretend like it's an original. Um, it's by a duo called The Other Favorites, and it's two men, and it's so funny because Liliana and I love them, and we like to joke that we are them in an alternate universe. um, because it's two guys, and Josh is his name. He plays guitar so well. And then there's one, Carson, and like singing is his main thing, but he also plays guitar. And so we always just feel like, whoa, it's basically us.
Well,
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's also it shows just like our same taste in music. Like most of the time, because we live far away now, a lot of our stuff is just like, hey, you should listen to the song. I think you'd like it. And then the other's response is always, yes, we should do this. We should play it. And so it's always stuff like that. And whenever we find a new artist, we're always like, you should listen to them. And then it becomes our like new favorite song that we play. So
And it becomes the thing you do. Yeah. So, but I think that's an interesting. Well, first off, the fact that you're able to continue performing as a duo, even though. And so, how much time was there when the two of you actually lived like within, I don't know, half an hour of each other's houses that you could get together on a regular basis?
So
we lived like 10 minutes away from each other for like 4 or 5 years, something
Oh, wow.
like that.
Oh no,
It was,
Claudia, you okay?
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Just want to make sure you're okay.
I'm good.
And for anyone who's watching, by the way, you're literally sitting in the back seat of your car, so this is safe. Everything's fine. we just want to make sure. I'm sorry. You're saying there were a couple of years that you were actually living in the same area, right?
yeah, being far away from each other is kind of a new thing because when we lived close to each other, it was like every weekend we'd get together and just and play music and whatever. So I think it was within like the last 2 years maybe that because she goes to Westchester for college. So
Which then also then coincided with COVID, right?
yeah. Yes.
So how did you manage that? I mean, especially since to go from like, you hang out on at least a weekly basis to get together and do music and that sort of thing. And then you're not getting together to do gigs anymore because it's either everything is shut down or it's too cold to perform outside. What was that transition like?
It was actually kind of perfect because in a weird way. So Lily and I are both pretty busy. Like she said, I go to Westchester University, and Lily, she won't say it, but she takes like all AP classes, and she's like a Smarty McSmarterson on student council and all that stuff. So I have work, and Lily has work. So there's a lot of times when we were so close together and everything was normal, it would be like, okay, we have to hang out on a Saturday night and practice at like 10 p.m. But during COVID, we would FaceTime and we would talk about, we came up with we replaced maybe more than half of the songs that we used to do because all the ones that we were playing for a while and we were kind of getting sick of, it's like, hey, we've always loved this song, and we just had a whole new list and we were able to learn them separately. And we're both trusting of each other and our skills that we just kind of learn them separately. And like I said, really, it's awesome that we're able to come together and play these just kind of a few times together and be able to play them out.
That is very cool. Well, I think another thing that probably contributes to that, I'm curious what you think about this. When you perform with another musician for a long time, even if you don't know, even if you haven't done that particular song, you know, you have a sense of, oh, under this, and maybe not even in these terms, but you have a sense of, oh, I know what she's going to do under these circumstances. She's probably going to do this, or probably going to do that. And you can begin to anticipate just because you've been playing together so long. Is that part of what allows you to do it with so little rehearsal?
I was just gonna say it's so easy to play with her now, because even like when we get together to play these songs for the first time,
Right.
and we're like sort of we're playing through the song and in our heads we're like, ooh, how should we end this? And we end up doing the same thing. And it's like, yeah, that works. It's not
Nice when that works. Yeah.
like, yeah, or even in gigs, like we just know each other's cues now. So
Right.
it's like we
Right.
don't have to do that much.
That's
do the
very
song.
cool.
We do the song "Rich Girl," and just a little behind the scenes. So there's the normal version of "Rich Girl," and then one of our favorite bands, Lake Street Dive, which is actually I'm gonna pretend like I did this on purpose. The next song that we do is by them.
Right. Right.
But they have a version of that song, and that song is kind of easy to cycle around. So I feel like every time we do it, we end it a little bit differently. It's like a double chorus, sure, and then we just kind of look at each other.
Yeah, and it's gotten to the point where that's kind of what makes it fun. Like we don't really want to figure it out. We
Right.
kind of just want to look at each other and be like, no.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, yeah, and there really is some that part of that energy, and I think the audience can pick up on that when you're, you know, when you're just figuring out on the fly and you're having that conversation through gesture and through, you know, probably actually that's an interesting thought. Do you ever find yourselves communicating to each other through what you're actually playing in addition to, because I mean, not things like eye contact or turning and that standing close to the microphone or standing away. Those are all the kind of little subtle cues that musicians give to each other to say, like, okay, stop the solo, we're going to do this now, or we're going to do this other thing. But do you find there are things actually in the music itself that you use to sort of cue each other?
Yeah, I think that certain songs like will either extend the solo, or we've added a little bit, or we like take out a long instrumental part. And so a lot of times Lily and I will literally just either like look and nod, or even something is like building up, like making a section
Sure.
louder, like something that we don't usually do. We play together so much that if like somebody throws in an extra little thing, it's kind of like we'll look at each other and be like, huh? And so I think whether it's in the music itself or not, we have things that
Right.
aren't like normal people wouldn't understand.
Right.
Just like even like a
Right.
little little gesture of the eyebrows. Like we definitely can almost read each other's minds.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's so cool, you know, in the audience to be able to see that kind of connection. I'm sure it's also really rewarding for the two of you to be like, yeah, this is how in sync we are. Can you remember, you know, and so this has been quite a while that the two of you have been performing together. Can you remember what it was like to sort of initially come together before you knew, you know, sort of like, oh, okay, this is what she's going to do in this context? Those first couple times you were cutting together, what was that like?
That's hard.
I think, thinking back, I think the way it all started was we were at a School of Rock show, and someone there, I don't know if it was, I think it was like a family friend of one of the other students, and they owned a little coffee shop, and that's the first place we played, and they were like, you girls look like best friends and you look like you play well together. If you ever want a place to play. And then we were like, huh, that's something we can do. So then we did that, and we were like, people will enjoy it, so we should do it more. And I think it kind of started from that. And I think it was easy from the beginning because we sort of started with songs that we had already played together, and like even before just being a duo, we had been on stage so many times together that we already had the connection, and being best friends also helped.
That's why that question was hard for me, because I struggle to remember the first time we played just the two of us, because we had already had that like connection of playing together from probably a couple years before we started playing as a duo.
Yeah.
So it's hard to think about like how it felt at the beginning of a duo. Because I know, like I said at the beginning, I was almost in like a sort of teacher-y figure. So I think it was an interesting dynamic that it turned from like, I call the shots to like, oh, you're better at guitar than me. Oh my God.
that also makes me that and Liliana absolutely can shred, which is really really
Oh my
really
God.
cool. And so that
Thank you.
also makes me and Claudia, you talked a little bit about sort of your first impression when Liliana comes through the door and can do all these amazing things. They're like, wow, that's really cool. Liliana, what were some of your first impressions of Claudia?
Wow. Like she said, it was kind of like a teacher-student thing at first.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember thinking like she was a lot older than she was, and then I found out she was a teenager, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool!" Like
uh huh,
she's close to my age, and she's really good, and she's
yeah,
like teaching other people. And I mean, I still look up to her now, but I remember it was just like, "Whoa!" And she was like my musical idol for a long time, and still now. And I think it was just really cool when I was like, oh, she wants to be my friend and like play with me, and because it was that weird like teacher student dynamic,
sure,
and with the age gap, and I was new to the School of Rock, and like just and she was my first friend that I made there, because the first time I
mm,
walked into the class, she was so welcoming and was like, hey, you're a female guitarist, that's kind of cool, like we like those. So yeah, definitely like an inspiration.
that is very very cool. Well, and Liliana, just let's dive in a little bit deeper into that too, in terms of and I think you may have mentioned this before. I've had different things. What goes into your guitar playing, or what sort of inspired you to start doing this in the first place?
I started taking lessons when my grandfather gave me a guitar for Christmas. He was in a band forever ago. And then I think I was just walking by the School of Rock, and I was like, that's a fun place. And that's where I met Claudia, obviously. And
I mean, like, what age are we talking again?
when I started
When you
playing,
started, yeah.
I think 11,
Okay.
I think 10 or 11. I think I was playing a little bit before we met.
It's funny because I was also 11. We were 11 at different times, but we both started when we were 11.
Yeah. And also another thing, playing with Claudia sort of like opened me up to more instruments and stuff. Like I said, I
Mm,
started on guitar, but performing with her, she was like, "Hey, like you should sing this. Like that'd be cool if you sang this." And I was like, "Oh, I can sing that." And then um we kind of like play to each other's strengths a lot. If it's like a really hard vocal thing, I'm like, "You got it. You know what you're doing." Or and she like opened me up to piano more and stuff. So I
nice.
think we definitely learned from each other playing together
Yeah.
too.
That's very, very cool. I mean, and one of the coolest things when you see performers who are sort of sparking off of each other that way, or there was I may have even mentioned this on the show here before, but it's probably new to you. I saw at some point a video of Stevie Ray Vaughan and I believe it was Albert King. These both amazing blues performers and both amazing blues guitarists, but very very different styles. The two of them together in a room trying to play off of each other. And one of the really cool things about it, Stevie was like, "Man, this guy's really good. I got up my game." And you can see Albert's like, "Man, this guy's really good. I got up my game." And when he keeps rising like that, that's so cool. And it sounds a little bit like the dynamic that the two of you have, and sort of being inspired and keep. Oh man, I gotta keep going up because the person over here I'm playing with is amazing. I've got to raise my level.
It's kind of exactly like that. It's we're like each other's biggest fans. Like whenever we listen, like that song that you heard before,
Hmm.
Angelina, that guitar solo is like insane. And I
Yeah,
remember listening through that song, and we love it. And I'm like, Lily, you gotta play this. We gotta do this song. And it's so fun. I Lily knows that I don't always refrain. It's so hard for me after she plays that solo. And she has a lot of really good solos and songs that we do. For me to be like, she's 17, like it's so hard for me not to just tell everybody. But when I do, everyone's like, oh my God.
right.
And that just makes me so happy. And I've
Yeah,
known her, she like looks like a woman now, but she didn't when we first started. So it's been fun for me as the older one to see her
uh-huh.
like, this girl's good. And then like, wow, she's really good. And then it's like, oh, whoa, she's like blossoming into this awesome musician. And it's so cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. Well, Claudia, I don't want to give short shrift to yours. You talk about getting into it at 11. What were some of your sort of formative musical experiences and what got you into it?
So my dad sings. He doesn't perform, but he sings a lot. And my mom loves music. We grew up with music in the house. So I, like, from since I can remember, have been singing Beatles songs and
Mm.
other things like that.
Uh-huh.
And I remember one day, I was singing with my dad in the car. I was probably like 10 because it was before I started at School of Rock. And we were singing Beatles songs. And every once in a while, he would be like, hey, like, nice harmony. And I was like, what? I didn't even realize that I was doing things that, like, weren't, I guess, normal. I always, just a little background on me. Obviously, we both play a lot of instruments. I always think of, like, my instrument as my ear. I don't have perfect
Mm.
pitch, but I am like, one of my majors in college is music theory, like the analytical
Hmm.
side and everything like that
Sure.
is like, that is my jam. And so from since I can remember, I've just loved listening to music and trying to hear what's happening and recreate it and play it.
Well,
So
and it also makes sense. I mean, Beatles is a great way to start with that. Like, if you're picking out what Paul is singing, or if you're picking out what John is singing, then yeah, it is gonna, right?
yeah, yeah. Billy Joel is another one. My dad and I would always sing, and I would be like, "Oh, there's a higher part there. I guess I'll do that one," and like not even really realizing what was going on. And that definitely has
Yeah,
had like a huge influence on my strengths and my
sure.
music. Is just growing up with it and just singing with my dad.
Very cool. And well, we talked very briefly a little bit ago about, the fact that you haven't really put together originals as a duo. I'm curious how, what your interest is, or do either of you write individually? And sort of how does that look working for you at this point?
I so I don't really do lyrics or anything, but I go to charter arts
Hmm.
high school and I'm a guitar major there, so it's a lot of classical guitar, and I've done a bunch of like classical guitar arrangements and like compositions, and um, they're more like just little things for me. But it
Sure, yeah.
my anytime I write anything, it's mostly classical stuff because that's what I've been doing in school, and yeah.
I guess sort of, I mean, the next question is, is there an interest, right? Do you sort of feel, it seems like a lot of the creative fulfillment you get is from what you do with the arrangements of other people's songs.
Yeah, I think if we do start writing any originals together, now would definitely be the time because like we said, we sort of revamped our whole set during COVID, and I think it's very specific now to the stuff we listen to
Mm,
and
mm-hmm.
more unique things and artists that we like. And I think that now more than ever, we would sort of be able to draw from that.
Sure, yeah. How about you, Claudia, in terms of songwriting?
Um, Kind of like Lily said, but I'll be blunt about myself. I suck at lyrics. Like I'm super like particular. I think I mentioned that already. But I will write something and sometimes I'll think like, oh, this is super clever. Like this is really, really good. And then I listen to it and I'm like, it's just dumb. Like so I've written a few little things and for college I've actually had to write some things. And sometimes it is, once again, like classical, will have really specific things.
Sure.
My favorite thing that I've ever done is we had to kind of reharmonize a classical piece. So
Ooh,
we had to like keep, it was a piano part. So we had to keep the right hand melody the same, but we could do whatever we want, like
okay.
chords or left hand
Yeah,
melody or whatever.
yeah.
And that was like a really good way for me who struggled with lyrics and things. Like I could be super creative, but I
Mm-hmm.
also like had a sort of like thing to go off of.
Sure, you
Um,
got a starting point. Yeah.
yeah. And that goes into what Lily and I do too. So many of the things now, like we will listen through a song and it'll be like, hey, like we should stick a solo in here. Or like
Right.
maybe this chord would be better if it was not quite that chord.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of songwriting, I'm also one who tends to be very, very critical of everything that I do. Um, and I think I had the way I remember it. Now, we all mythologize our own past in one way or another, but I remember it being around 16 that I got this into my head, and I've tried to hang on to it ever since then. The idea that writing a song is not that hard. Writing a good song, writing a great song, that doesn't always happen. But just writing a song is really, you do 1 4 5 chords, you do moon, June, spoon, in and out, and you're done. And so yeah, so there's an aspect of that, of trying to just like remind myself to get out of my own head. Like, okay, this isn't too complicated. I can, just put some words together and they'll be fine, and we see where we go from there. But I think a big part of it too is also, I know a lot of people who are songwriters are just really driven to create. Like they feel like they really have something to say. And I guess some of that sort of the next question is, what are the things that you might want to express, or what is it? When do you feel like you're going to reach, like you have a point that, yeah, I have something we want to. It's important for us to communicate something.
I actually want to give a quick shout out. One of my best friends, Brenna, she writes music. She's in the Lehigh Valley. She's one of those people who is like a songwriter, and you can tell. So I remember we became friends my junior year of high school, and she was like, "I'm playing a gig, you should come." And me coming from the School of Rock world was expecting she's going to play some covers. Maybe I know she writes songs, maybe an original or two. And she did a whole show of originals, and I like cried. Like she's so good. And so I've started talking with her recently because I'm like, I want to do that. Like, how do you do
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And I actually just recently went through a breakup, and so I'm feeling emotions right now. So it's funny that we're talking about songwriting because I've been thinking like, Claudia, this might be the time to do it.
It might it might be. I mean, there have been so many tremendous works of music, especially popular music, that have been prompted by exactly that experience. So,
Yeah.
and I am sorry for you having had to go through that experience. And it is also very, very cool that you had that glimmer of like, oh wait, we can use this pain to do something really cool.
Exactly.
I mean, Adele is obviously one of the big ones that people think of these days, right? I mean, she launched a career out of a relationship that ended, and so yeah.
Definitely.
And how about you, Liliana? In terms of inspiration, in terms of at a point where you might feel like that you want to create more of your own work.
I think honestly part of it is being like playing with other people. I like I said, I go to charter arts, and a couple of my friends are really big into composing and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So seeing their things and their works are always like inspirations for me, and I always want to get into it. I think a lot of it also comes with like life experience.
Sure, sure.
Me being so young is also kind of I'm not exactly sure what that would look like yet. So
And it also is funny you say that, because I think there are a lot of folks your age, and my kids are a little bit younger than you, but it's sort of the stereotype of teenagers who feel like they know everything already. And
yeah.
it's striking that you're describing as sort of the opposite. It's sort of like, well, yeah, I know there's more things out there that I haven't experienced yet. That's going to give me more perspective, and then also more material to use to create art. But there's got to be something in your life experience that goes into the music that you already do, and the way that you solo, as well as the songs that you pick. What's your sense of how that connects with your life experience?
I think we tend to choose songs that we just associate with like good memories. At least that's for me.
Mm,
Like anytime I'm thinking of new songs to do, I'm always looking back at like some playlists that I have from a specific time in my life, or like a specific year of school, or a
sure.
trip, or like friendship or whatever. And I think a lot of the songs that we pick sort of stem from that.
Well, and certainly there also are more than a few songs that are based on teenage experiences
Yeah.
that have a rather large cultural impact. So yeah, absolutely. I want to talk also a little bit about instruments. And and you described how the experience of playing off of each other and like my guess is that it's something like, oh, this would sound really cool if we had someone playing a bass. Well, I guess someone needs to learn how to play a bass, and sort of stretching that way. How does the inspiration come to be like, oh yeah, I need to learn an entirely new instrument? Or when you pick up a new instrument, does that sort of open up other possibilities and give you other ideas?
I think a little bit of both there. I think
Sure.
Claudia and I can both agree. Neither of us would consider ourselves bassists by any means.
Yep.
A lot of times we're like, this should have bass. So one of us will learn bass and let's do that. And then we both learned bass. And then from that, learning that, we were like, now that we know bass, let's figure out some more bass stuff we could do. So I
Sure.
think it came from just feeling like this needs something. One of us will learn it.
Or both.
Yeah, we're both
Exactly.
open to that kind of stuff.
We when we knew that we wanted to do the song "Oh Darling," that's one of the regular ones we have in our set. That's
Mhm.
like you have to do bass for that song.
Right.
So we were like, okay. We also do "Some Kind of Wonderful" by Grand Funk Railroad. So we were like, okay, these songs like need to have bass. And then we were like, we need to make it worth it for one of us to lug a bass for the whole gig.
Right.
So each time we try to have like at least 5 songs that we have bass on. And we used to, a long time ago, if any of the people watching saw us, like pre-COVID times, we used to bring 2 electric guitars and we would play Hotel California on a loop pedal and then do the dueling guitar solos at the end.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then we decided to add a few songs that we need 2 acoustics for, and it's like we can't bring 6 instruments. Like that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
if you
like Lily said, it's just about like
setup, if you ever look at our setup at a gig, it's like 6 guitars on the side, like 3 amps, the loop pedal, the keys, and then always just like sometimes just like a random little instrument on the side, and it's
Yeah.
pretty fun. But packing like both of our cars, eventually it's like we can't or we just need a new car. We can't do it.
Yeah. There's got to be a van involved at some point. I'm glad you mentioned loop pedal because that was another thing that I wanted to ask about. One thing that my experience with loop pedal has basically been that it is its own instrument. It's its own sort of separate thing. And I remember the first time that I tried to pick up a loop pedal or tried to use a loop pedal, I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And it wasn't until I had spent more time sort of like, so I didn't have to think about the guitar at all, and I could just focus on the loop pedal, what was going on. Then I could begin to put pieces together. But tell me a little bit about the loop pedal that you have, because I think the one that you use is pretty sophisticated, right? Or just a little bit that I saw in the videos that I'm watching of yours.
Yeah, so I have the Boss RC300. I had the RC30 a couple years ago when I first started, and yeah, we both did.
Still have that one.
And I first used it just for like practicing soloing and like basic exercises and technique stuff. And then I think it was when I started playing out and started playing with Claudia that I explored like actually building songs and layering things,
Yeah.
To make it sound more full. So then I eventually got the RC300 and both of us sort of started experimenting with that. And now anytime we can, we try to incorporate it. Or sometimes we're playing something and we're like, we should just like loop something because it needs it. And yeah, I think I'm still learning how to use it.
Oh,
It's just
absolutely. Now, go ahead.
experience.
Yeah. The 300, because if I remember correctly, that lets you do a lot of pretty sophisticated things, including like, different things loop on different channels, right? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, so the first one that I had was only one
Right.
channel, and it was basically you loop everything on one channel, and if you want to stop something, you stop everything, which was good. But for the kind of stuff that we do,
Right.
we experimenting with different forms and stuff. So the RC300 has 3 different tracks, and they're all individual from each other. So stop and start whenever. And there's also like so many effects and presets on it too. You can do literally anything
Yeah.
with it.
So
But-
when you're incorporating that into a performance, is there anything that, because I think some of the higher end loop pedals like that one, you can like have your beat already laid down. It's just like in the memory of the it's not really a pedal at that point. It's in the memory of the device. Do you still build things on the fly in front of the audience? Is that part of the experience? How much, sort of prep goes into sort of loading it up with stuff that needs to go with you to the gig?
Well, so we don't usually, the songs that we have like a beat going for, we also add on top of that, where we either add like a riff or we add a little vocal thing. So it, for us, to make sure that like the tempo is going to be right, we prefer to do it in the moment. Also,
Sure.
It's the cool thing to have the audience
Right.
see like what it's like.
Right. The audience sees
for
all the layers as they're put in. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, we do the song, we were talking about Adele, we do the song Rolling in the Deep. And that's one of my favorite ones we use the loop pedal for, because we start it with just like a basic like quarter note kind of bass note sound. And then on the next channel, we have like shaker going. And then I loop like the background vocals because they're harmonized. And so
Right.
then we turn it all off. And that way, when the verse starts, it's completely broken back down. It's just guitar, and then Lo's playing guitar and I'm singing. And then we add in, like for the pre-chorus, I start playing piano, we add that shaker in. And then at the chorus, we add the vocals, and we go to, it's really nice to be able to show people like, hey, here's all the things that we're looping. And then you get to just like press the pedal and hear it happen. Then it's like, whoa, that's the song now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's show folks a song that involves the loop pedal. The song is, and actually here, you can introduce the song better than I could.
So the song is What About Me? It's by a band called Lake Street Dive, who quickly became one of our favorite bands. And they're really cool. We just figured it was a perfect opportunity to use the loop pedal, and it's also a great vocal song for Claudia, so it's really good.
All right, here we go.
Without a name, a lonely girl. might have took it way too far, but you've gotta respect consistency. That's why the next time I won't wait too far. You know me, and I won't hesitate to say, what about me? What about me? Say, what about me? Look at all the heads I'm turning in the street. Well, oh my, don't you realize one thing should be on your mind? What about me? Oh, no, no. Well, what about me? What about me?
Oh, there's so many parts of that I love. Really, really nice work.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh man, among the little things that I noticed watching through that. First off is Liliana singing along on the verses, or like mouthing the words of the verses, but not wanting to step on Claudia's vocal. I also love the not quite mic drop of how you turn off the microphone that you're using to get the shaker and the and the finger snaps there as part of that.
Yeah. We don't, if we keep looping stuff, we don't want it to feedback. So we just kind of,
Yeah, that works. That works. And no, and it looks very practiced, and you know exactly what to do. Just keep on running with it. So there you go. Very, very cool. So we're coming up on the turn of the hour, but I want people to have a chance to find out how to, well, first off, how to find all of your socials, and as well as I don't know exactly when you're next performing, but I'm sure it's soon because the two of you gig all the time. So what do you have coming up?
I think the next thing we have is July 30th. We're playing at the Foundation Tavern. And I think it's going to be the first time we're playing there. So we're very excited.
Nice. Actually, so people should come check that out. And the
it's a
website.
Friday.
Go ahead.
I said that's a Friday night. That's what I was saying. Friday.
And and you're on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, we have an Instagram, which I think is at Claudia Liliana Music. And then on Facebook, you could just search Claudia and Liliana, and it'll come up. We have some fun with it because we're both, young tech savvy people. So we have a website, and we both we shared when we made the website. We share the account, so whenever we add new things, we can both go in and edit and all that stuff. But most of the stuff, so our website and our YouTube and our Facebook are all at Claudia and Liliana, spelled out. And then Instagram is the only one that's Claudia Liliana Music.
Got it. So people should absolutely follow those. Check out the website, and all of that should be linked. You can't see it, but down below Claudia, that should be in the YouTube description, so people can check out all of those things. Very, very cool. And so what's going to happen so you have a little bit of time between now and your next gig. Any plans for that? You're going to add a new song to the set, or you're just going to we're going to deal with the heat and get together when we can?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be in Maine, which is why we don't have anything this upcoming weekend. I will be in Maine, but I'm bringing my guitar, so we'll be ready.
There you go. How about you, Liliana?
We constantly have a running list of things we want to add. It's 50 songs, and occasionally we're like, hey, I had time, I learned this, you should learn it too. and then we add it in. So possibly do that.
All right. So yeah, people should come out on the 30th, and there might be another a new song or two that is brand new to your set list.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, again, thank you so much, the two of you, for making time and finding a way with all the schedules and technology to be able to be here. Like I said, I've wanted to have you on as guests for a really, really long time, and I'm really, really excited we can make it happen.
Thank you for
We
having
really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Absolutely. All right. So there we go. That is that is our, hold up, there it is. That is our show for this evening. Thanks so much to everyone who was able to watch. Thanks to everyone who was able to click that like button or the share button. If you're watching this live, hi! Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're watching this on the replay, that is also really, really cool. Hit the share button so more people can see the cool things that Claudia and Liliana are doing. This has been Rock in the Valley's Cyber Speakeasy. I'm your host, Not For Coltrane. This is part of Stories and Song with Mike and Tom, which means that next week here in this time slot, there will be a presentation by Tom Cunha's Songwriters Alive. So watch for that, watch the schedule, watch the Rock in the Valley website and the socials for all the things that are coming up for that. And of course, I also have my other webcast, which I do on Tuesdays at 12:30 in the afternoon. We play the Not For Coltrane Stump the Band game. Tune in and see how that goes. But until then, my name is Mike. I am Not For Coltrane. Please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you right here in this space next time.